Click the like, subscribe and the notification bell. It helps the Talisman to keep theatre alive.
They're still out there, watching, waiting to see what I do. I ran into Mrs. Epplethwaite t'other day. Her who used to keep the sweet shop down Armley way and retired to Greesborough. Made a whistling sound when she spoke, like she was sucking a barley sugar. I say I ran into her, but it was more a case of her running into me. I were in Tesco's, pricing some pork medallions, when she came rushing round the corner with her trolley, saw me, took avoiding action and knocked over a stand of dried herbs. I helped her pick the packets up, but an assistant soon came to the rescue and sorted the tarragon from the oregano. "You carry on," she said, "I've got plenty of time." "I can see that," says Mrs. H. She had that hat on with a fur brim, very posh. "Why don't we have a cuppa in the cafe?" she says. So we do. I wouldn't if I were on my own, but she wants to chat. I suppose she's got no one to talk to, with her husband being still alive. Me, being on my own, I can talk all I like in the comfort of my own home, well, like I'm doing now. I can say what I like, not that I ever would. They do a very nice toasted pikelet at Tesco's. We're on our second cup when she says to me, "Your lad's making a name for himself." I said, "Yes. Gordon's doing very well in the planning department at Ripon, married with a holiday maisonette in Cleethorpes and 2 kiddies." "No, not Gordon," she says, "his brother." "What's he done now?" I says. "He's only in the paper." "The Evening Post, you mean?" "No," she says, "only the Guardian." I said I'd better be going, as I'd left a bit of haddock defrosting. Of course, by then the paper shop was fresh out of Guardians. That's me every time, the first that's too late. So I never find out what the fuss was about. I worry about him. Saw Elspeth Bickersnaith in Save the Children. She's a volunteer. Oh, I wasn't there to buy out. I just wanted to see whether that pottery dog of mine had sold. Elspeth was behind the counter, wanted to talk. Well, the shop was very quiet, and Elspeth said any customers go to the other counter as if she wasn't there. "People don't notice me," she said, wearing a denim skirt. Well, there's no accounting for taste. "I noticed you," I said. She said the vicar had come round asking if anything was wrong. She told him she felt she was becoming invisible. He says, "I didn't see you in church last Sunday." "Well, there you go," she says. I was just beginning to edge away like you do, when she leans closer and says, "What about that lad of yours?" "Gordon," I says. "No, the one with the glasses. All that stuff about alcoholism and wife-beating." "He hasn't got a wife," I says, more's the pity. "It was in the paper," she said. Well, I couldn't get out of that shop fast enough. In the street I had the feeling that people were looking at me, talking about me behind the hands. I thought I'd be only too happy to be invisible. The pottery dog was still there. £5.60, I'm not surprised. He were a lovely lad. Well, they both were. He popped in last Thursday. Said he'd been at the playhouse. "Doing what?" I says. "Not much," he said. "Hanging around in case I'm wanted, but I never am. Been there for hours, I'm cream-crackered." "What's that supposed to mean?" I says. He said, "It's rhyming slang." "What for?" I said. "You don't want to know," he said. Funny thing, he's right, I don't. "You're a gold mine," he said, though at first I think he says coal mine. Tell him I don't take kindly to being compared to the Waterloo main pit. "Turn your hearing aid up, mother," he says. "There's nothing wrong with my hearing," I said. "It's you mumble. Anyway, what do you mean, gold mine?" A rich seam of comic inspiration, he said. The mother lode. I'm a burden to you, that's what you're saying. Not that sort of load, he says. Shall I refresh your cuppa? He does that sometimes. Changes the subject and thinks I won't notice. Well, I do notice. I didn't say anything. We sat there for a bit and then I bethought myself, what do you mean comic inspiration? He says you have a rare gift of making people laugh and you don't always realise it. Well, it's news to me, I says. He gives that shy smile he has. Butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. He says, in Bridlington once, when me and Gordon were little, we were in among the fairground rides, crowds of people. Gordon runs off, excited. And you, ma'am, shout at the top of your voice, just you come back here, Gordon Bennett. Everybody went quiet, and then there was this big laugh, he said. Well, I don't see why, I said. That's what I mean, he says. We talk like this, going round in circles. In the end, he plucks up courage to tell me. He's doing it again. Half our programme's on the telly. All the same, some lost soul talking to a camera about this and that. You'd think they could run to someone else for them to talk to. But it's the BBC. They're not made of money, says Alan. I don't watch them. Mrs. Epplethwaite says she does. I don't know why. She doesn't approve, I'm sure. Unsavoury types, she calls them. Low life. If it's not alcoholism and adultery, it's wife-beating and child molesting. Most of them sad and frightened old women like that Thora Hurd. Why don't you write something cheerful, I says. Write about what you know, Alan. The viewers seem to like my stuff, he said. Well, that's a queer as folk. That's what his dad would have said. Where does it all come from, I asked him. Not from me. Soon as I said it, I realised my mistake. Don't you take it into your head to write about me, neither. No, Mammy said, but I could see him thinking about it. He was back again last Tuesday. That's twice in a fortnight. He shows me an article from the Radio Times. He's won an award. Some play about the Queen. Her Majesty liked it, apparently. Wanted to give him a CBE, but he turned it down. He's always a bit shy. This morning I happened to be in Save the Children. Caught sight of Elspeth, hidden in a rack of winter coats. You must be so proud of Alan, she said. Yes, I am, I said. I bought the pottery dog. I couldn't bear to see it still there, gathering dust. I knocked her down to £3.50, mind. Still there, with the cameras and microphones. I rang Alan. What shall I do, I says. You're famous, he says. You'll be on the telly. Milk it. I've told them they'll have to wait till the bacon was out the oven. I think that's the timer now.
Some folks put much reliance on politics and science. There's only one hero for me. It's praise we should be roaring, a man who thought of pouring the first boiling water onto tea. I like a nice cup of tea in the morning, for to start the day, you see.